design and media in churches. That's what I'm talking on today. So it's that side of admin. And so this is a very important topic. You may glaze over now if this is not your field or something you're interested in, but I promise you, you'll be playing the video back. We're also going to be going at a speed this morning, so you're welcome, or this afternoon, you're welcome to take photos of the screen for reference. Otherwise, play it back at like half speed. So if Jesus is our message, how do we communicate him to the world? We have the spoken word, preaching, as well as other ways of communication. But today, media is part of communication, a huge part. And it can often be overlooked, the huge role that media actually plays in getting our message across. So media is the gift wrapping that makes people want to open up the package and hear what you are saying. It's also an important vehicle to let people know that you do actually exist and why you exist. So when you're church planting or you're a church, the last thing that you are wanting to be is top secret. Let's see if the guys are keeping up. Top secret. Because you can go out and plant a church, but if no one knows that you're there or where you're meeting or what you're doing, then actually let's be blunt and just call it and say, what's the point? So that's what media can play. The role is being a vehicle for that. So this afternoon, I'm going to focus on church planting, just with the mindset of if you've transitioned a church, if you are leading a church, you've probably got a lot of this into place. So our focus is going to be on church planting. And we're going to be looking at a church website, what you need, what social media you need, and integrating media into preaching. And then we're also going to be looking at how to get the best out of your media support team and how to say thank you to them for the many, many hours they put in. There we go. So this is my disclaimer, just because Charles is sitting here, so you've always got to have like the legal terms and conditions. So there are many types of media. I'm just going to be focusing on digital media because that's my expertise. And then I'm also going to be showing you how to cheat and media for dummies. So I am not a trained graphic designer. It's become my field, but I wasn't trained this way. And so many of the tricks that I'm going to tell you about today is stuff that I've had to learn through being thrown in the deep end. Thank you, 2020. And just having to learn to swim really quickly. So there's many platforms and resources out there that are excellent, but I'm just going to highlight the ones that I found the most helpful. And remember, it's part of my disclaimer, so I know there's many, many other platforms out there and helpful things. You do your own research, find what works for you. I'm just going to show you what works for us. I think the point is that you don't need to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of rands on many different programs to get quality artwork and stuff out there. So websites, let's look at that. So I'm just going to be touching the basics. Am I talking too fast, Colette Meyer? No, I'm good. There we go. So, yes. So websites have actually transitioned over the last couple of years, probably the last 10 years. And so in the past, a website would be something that you would do as an option when you had a business or a church, and it would be almost like a very pretty business card online. And websites have actually transitioned away from that. So they're actually great tools both for yourself as well as the person who is actually looking at your website. So it's actually a powerful tool. A website, and we're talking church planting, a website gives you credibility. And as a church planter, sadly, this is something that you won't have for quite a while after you plant a church, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But a website gives you credibility, and so I believe that it's one of the things that you should have as soon as possible as you plant a church. It helps you get known. Again, you don't want to be top secret. And a church website is something that is very complex and difficult to get your hand on. So if you are a business owner or you've kind of in that forum, you would know that you have a target audience and you do everything to try and grab those people and draw them into whatever you are doing. And so a church website is quite difficult in that you've got 3 or more target audience that you are reaching out to all at the same time. So you've got your members that are part of your church already. Then you have other Christians who are perhaps moved into the area who are looking for another church and are trying to find your church. And then you've also got those people who are unsaved, don't know Jesus, don't know church, and are just looking for some answer to life and hope in life, and hopefully come upon your website to solve that for you. And so where do you go when designing a website or asking someone to design it for you when it's so diverse in who do you reach out to, where do you reach out to them? So let me give you the number 1 rule. Yes, keep it simple and easy to use. If there's too much information on the page or it's too texty and you've got to scroll down or you're battling to find something on your website, that means you are not winning. The target with a website is to keep it simple for someone who doesn't know church at all, who doesn't know the language that you may use, and perhaps doesn't know anything about church and are just looking for hope. So how do you do that? Well, I'll let you know. So the stats are with websites that you've got between 2 and 8 seconds to grab someone's attention. Otherwise, they just do their little click, click, and move on to the next website. And so you've got between 2 and 8 seconds to grab their attention. And so how you do that is you're going to be using a lot of color, a lot of blocks, little bit of text. The stats also tell us, and just think back to your recent browsing of what you've read online at the moment. But if you've got a huge block of text, the stats say that you won't even read one line of text. You'll actually just click down or scroll down past that text. So you've just got to learn to package things in a way that you still have the same information, because we don't want to dumb down our society, but how do we package this? Remember, this is our gift wrapping to make people open this out. The other thing to know when you are having a website is that we don't park God at the door when we are designing. And we can forget that when we stand up to preach, we wouldn't stand up to preach without praying or spending time in the Word and preparing. And it's exactly the same when you are designing whatever you're designing, whether it be a website or your preaching slides, is you are asking the Spirit to come in and speak through your images and pictures. And so you are asking God to come and speak through you in words before people even click your URL, your name thing. When you are outsourcing your website, in other words, if you're not designing your own website, then when you're choosing your designer, choose someone who's a Christian, a born-again believer, who is Spirit-filled, and who understands the type of church that you are wanting to see your church become. Choose someone who, and this is very important, who's got a heart of a teacher, who won't just run ahead of you, but will actually explain to you and teach you how to do the things that need to be doing. And then design a website for who you want to attract. People want to see that they will fit in. And so choose your photos to reflect this, or any images that you have on your website to reflect this. I think Charles has just spoken so well, And this is a nod. We're not into tokenism, so we don't have one black person, one brown person, peach person, an Indian person. What color would that be? And so we're not into tokenism, and that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is when you're a church plant, we tend to just choose images of people that look like us. And so if you are wanting someone else to feel comfortable, that they will be welcome and feel at home in your church, then don't forget to just include that in the images you choose. If there's no woman on the website, actually, a woman won't feel very comfortable when she's looking to see what this church is about. And remember, since COVID, most people will check your church out a very long time before they step a foot into your door and see what you're about. So have people design for who you want to attract. Yeah. So there are certain things that you need to have on your website. The first would be your home page. That's the first page you go to when you click on and open a website. It's your home page. And this is all about those who are not part of your church. So your homepage is when you're reaching out to the unsaved or someone who is looking to maybe join your church. And so your homepage should be your invitation. I don't know if you have a church website, but think through your church website. Does it say clearly the first thing people say, where you're meeting, the time you're meeting? It should be like a kiddie's invitation. It's join us this time, where, when. That's what you want. Your first slide that people see on a church website is all about come and join us. We want you here. The homepage should also have an aspect to say who you are. Now, you can do this and communicate in different ways. It could be through images, and like I said before, just images of what your church is or who you are. It could be links to your YouTube channel if you're that far down the road. But just a little stanza, so people can grasp who you are before they click onto all the nitty-gritty information. It should have an aspect of outreach on your home page. So if you are having some events coming up, just your key events that are reaching out to people and that you want people to come into. One of the things that we've done over the years, every year, is a finance course. And so that's the type of thing that I would have on the home page and really pushing it out to the community, because that's the type of thing that would draw people in. The other thing a homepage must have is a call to action. Now, a call to action, you would see on a website the little buttons that you say, register here, phone us, buy tickets, that kind of thing, and that's a call of action. But it basically is, what must people do with the information you're giving them? The second thing every website should have, and particularly as a church planter, is an About You page. And this one's very important because you have to tell your story. As a church planter, you're probably starting in a lounge, or maybe you're fortunate enough to be in a venue, but you've got to get people and explain who you are, where you're going. And so it's your story. I said earlier about being a church planter, you don't have much credibility. And so there are ways that you can get credibility and gain that while being a church planter. And this is all for people who don't understand church, but your credibility would come through partnering with NCMI. And so that's one of the things that I would do as a church plant, is I would point towards the partnership, that you're not just a church on your own. It's not just you and your family in a room with a few friends. It's actually, we're part of something bigger. This is who we are and what we're doing life with. So NCMI gives you that credibility if you're partnering with them. The other thing that gives you credibility is the church that you are planting from. And so just to have in your bio, just to have, this is who we are, we were part of this church, with a little link to that church so they can see what that church is about, is hugely helpful. I think another thing Charles spoke about is being authentic and having integrity, and that's a big one when you are working with media, and particularly on a website, is we want to be integrous. So integrity is key. So if you're not partnering with NCMI, don't put it there. And if you are going instead of being sent from your local church, just own that, and don't say this is where we're from. Have integrity. There's in that About You page, you can talk about your vision and values, your statement of faith. I wouldn't have huge realms of text, but what you could have is a button saying a statement of faith. People want to know what you believe, what you stand for, and just takes you to a different page to read that. Be careful about the images you choose for your website. This goes on being your integrity as well. Let's throw up that first picture of worship that I've got there. So as a church plant, we sometimes put up images like this on our website, and it's a huge church context, and then someone walks into the room for the first time, and it's like you and like your husband's preaching, and you like making all the tea, and your 2-year-old's taking up the tithes and offering. And let's see the next one. Or you'll have something like this, which is, it's amazing. Who wouldn't want to be there? But then you walk into the room and it's like, is this the right address? And so you can get the same heart that you're trying to portray here, let's see the next one, by just being more selective with your images. So you're still giving the heart of a church who loves Jesus, we worship. It's just a close-up of that. Or something else like this. It gives the same message, but it just shows the integrity and doesn't throw people for a loop. When you have a website, unique photos of your own are really great. However, there's nothing wrong with using stock photos. Stock photos are one that you either pay for, or there's sites you can get from free. But unique photos are actually best. Good tip is when you have your launch day, hire or get some photographer to come and take photos of your image of your launch meeting. You'll have more than 2 people in the room, which is always helpful. And it's a good way to then get something, show people who you are without looking silly. Pray when choosing your images, and let the Spirit guide you towards the one that reflects what God is saying through your image to the community. Just remember that God can speak through many, many different ways. This is part of being Spirit-led. And so when you are choosing your images, ask Him to guide you to the right ones. Google is not your friend when it comes to choosing images, and there's 2 reasons. 3. One is copyright is very important, and so you want to pay for photos if someone's selling them. Secondly is quality is often an issue, and thirdly is you don't know who else is using that image, so you really don't want to be associated to Sally's Satanistic Club just because they're using the same image and you haven't done your homework. And so it's best just to stay away from Google. One of the sites I like to use is called Unsplash, and Unsplash allows you to download high quality images for free. So that's just one of them. With a website, keep the main thing the main thing. Your website needs to make much of Jesus, and then it also needs to call people together to your community to glorify Him. How do you prepare for your website before you plant? Because it's often the last thing we think about, is you start now. So It takes a lot of research, a lot of information before you can even begin designing, even if you're using a website designer. And I think you can often underestimate the amount of information that you need, so start gathering that now. It can be things like your statement of faith, your vision and values. Now you can tweak all these later because none of this will be solid and it will evolve over time. It can be things you want to see in your plant, why you're planting, and just things like that. So there's that. What can you do now? You can save your money. It's going to cost a lot of money. A website designed by a professional is starting at between 12 and 20,000 Rand for a church planter's needs and upwards. And so you can start saving your money for that, because when you plant, your money will go in many other areas like bread and milk and school fees. The good news is that you can actually design a website yourself. It's very easy to do. You don't need to know code. There's many websites and platforms that are template-based. So basically all you have to do is change the images and change the information to make it your own. Be proud of being a church planter. Just own who you are, where you are. Just own the fact that you're a new church, major on that as your theme, and know that you're going to transition this website in 12 to 18 months' time. And you can always get a designer or someone when you need it to go to the next level. But for your starting point, it's very easy to use something of your own. I'm trying to remember what time I started, so I'm good. All right, so I use a platform called Wix.com. It's just the one I love to use. And why I like it is because it's template design, it's easy to use. It's got a killer event app, and that's very important to have an event app on your website. So it means that you can load all your events in the app, and it goes out onto your search engine optimization, which is basically your Google. Anything that helps it's called SEO, search engine optimization, is key for you because it helps you get from page 51,000 to page 1. And so anything that you can do to help you would help that. So Events app helps you. It also means that you're getting the word out. So often what we do is we'll announce an event in our church. We'll maybe have it on a WhatsApp group, but that means you're only advertising to those who know about you already. And so you're wanting to get the word out as much as possible. And something like an events app helps that. Wix is desktop and mobile friendly. Most of your people will look at your website through their mobile these days. And it also has a library of fonts and free images. It's got great SEO, and that's what you want. It also has a blog app, the curse word, blogs. But something you can do now to prepare for your church plant is just be writing articles. Because what a blog does is if you're posting one once a week or once a month, it just rises you from the bottom of the Google search right to the top, and that's what you want. And these are all free tools that you don't then need to pay for to up your search engine page one. And so just think of a blog. It can be your sermon notes, it can be like things to do in our city. It's just anything that it doesn't actually matter what you say, you just want to get it out there. Well, it does matter what you say, but anyway, we'll rewind that part from the recorder. All right, let's look at social media. So social media is a lovely tool, and it doesn't really matter what your view of social media is, whether you love it or hate it. Craig and I don't really love it too much, but we do it for our church, and this is why, because we are not a secret society. We want to get our word out. And so social media, because it's a very well-known field, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's something that you have to have, in my opinion, for a church plant particularly, but any church. Excuse that. Remember that if people don't know you're there, what is the point of slaving away and doing what you're doing? You can grow by word of mouth, you can grow by your directional signage, but you'll grow faster if you have social media and use it. And the best of all, it's free. You can pay for it, but you can also work it like really well for free. So often you'll hear that you have to post every day for social media to work and to be effective. That's not true. The key is consistency. So whether you're posting once a week or whatever, just make it a consistent recipe that you follow each week. The great thing is that you can plan ahead. Facebook has a great tool that'll allow you to schedule up to 3 months in advance, and it'll push things to whatever you post on the Facebook, it'll post on Instagram at the same time without any extra work on your side, and also with posts and stories. So that's great for you. Have a plan. So just for our church, we've tried to simplify how we do everything, so we know that on a Saturday, it's an invitation church. Come to church tomorrow. See you Sunday. It's that kind of thing. On a Tuesday, we're looking back on a Sunday, what we're doing. So it's all back about like what was preached on the Sunday, how you can find the links to whatever we've put out. And then on a Thursday, it's an encouragement. So those are 3 basics. We push events and that through social media, but just have a plan. And this is where Google is your friend, because there's millions around there. Just type in church media, social media plan, and you'll see they'll pop up very easily. And it just takes the thinking and the work out of it. The last thing we are looking at this morning is how we integrate media into your preacher. So let's throw up the goldfish. So what does a goldfish have to do with preaching, you ask? Well, the average person these days has an attention span of 8 seconds. See, wake up. And a goldfish wins by 1 second, so they have an attention span of 9 seconds. And so we live in a very digital-heavy, oversaturated world. And because of this, the effects of social media and just everything flying at you, attention span of people have actually lessened quite considerably. There's also something called the picture superiority effect, and that's where it says that a picture can solidify and it's better learnt and more easily and frequently recalled than those without a picture. So why media in preaching is we use it to focus people's attention. It's the points, you can emphasize the points, but you can also say so much more through an image that you may not have time to. So we can throw up that love your neighbor image, and so if you have this up on your screen, you don't have to go into a lot of detail about how we love our neighbor, all that. A picture speaks so more. So there's lots of projection software out of there. You may come from a church that is using the most well-known is ProPresenter. It's great, but it's really expensive. There are other ones out there, so do your research before you just randomly go and subscribe and find what works for you and your budget as a church. Slide shows do's and don'ts. I'm really hurrying now, so these will help the images. So you get 2 types of formats. You get 4.3, which is square, and you get 16.9. It's very important to know what your screen looks like. This one would be 16.9. We'll go on to the next slide, so that you can design in the right format. Every slide that you're making, it's good to have at least a title slide, have it with a main title, an image that speaks to people, and we can click over to, I'm running out of time, so where should I go? Next slide is it's good to have your scriptures up, but points should help people focus on the main thought. It should be clear and easy to read. When you are creating slides for when you're preaching, the worst thing you want to do is to have a page full of text that no one can read. Your font size should be no smaller than 30. In fact, probably 42 to 48 would be a good guide of what the font size should be so that everyone can see it clearly. It does depend on where your projector is and how close it is, but just make sure you don't have pages and pages of font. No one will read it. Rather than have your information on more slides than less. Is this making sense to you? Great. And then our graphics and images that we're using in our preaching is high quality images. Don't do Google searches. Don't have something with a watermark over, then you know it's copyrighted. And then avoid your cheesy clip art at all odds, at all things. A good resource is Church Media Drop. We'll throw up the next slide. Church Media Drop is a resource for churches. It's free slides, videos, countdowns, all that kind of thing that you can make your own. So whatever your sermon topic is, go grab them. They've got quite a lot and it's all free. So that's quite nice that you don't have to make your own. And I think I'm at the end. I'm just going to go back to this, the social media resources. 2 other great resources for you. Canva.com is going to become your new favorite friend. It's a great, great resource. It's basically thousands and hundreds of thousands of templates for anything you could imagine, from social media to t-shirts to posters. You can customize it to your own look and feel, but it's a great resource. The other thing that's a great resource for social media, so you don't have to come up with your own unique content, is something called Social Media TV. That one is a subscription based. It's about 250 Rand a month. You can also download a whole lot of content and then switch it on and off as your budget allows. But that's great because it gives you images for any topic that you want, from Easter to invites to church, but it also will give you the captions, which is a great thing. Lastly, I'm just going to jump to the last resource, is our NCMI app. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's great resources for NCMI as a whole. But on there's a group called NCMI Media Connect. If you've got any questions about sound, media, live streaming, equipment, that's a great resource based. You ask for help and you'll get 10 helpful answers. And if you need someone to jump in and help you more for that, they're there for you too. You can scan the QR code and it'll give you the resource to download that. Thank you.